My name is John Hollis, and I have super antibodies in my blood that have made me immune to COVID-19.
You could dilute the antibody 1 to 10,000 times, and it would still kill 90% of the viruses.
Uma descoberta incrível,
I know I'm not the only person who's got antibodies like these. I'm just one of the few people who have been found.
mas que poderia nunca ter ocorrido, especialmente porque John é negro.
This has been the most surreal experience of my life, and I couldn't make this up if I tried. The first week of April, my housemate became sick, very sick, with I knew was COVID-19. So those first 2 weeks of April were pretty scary. And so for 2 weeks, I basically just waited for the axe to drop, and it never did. And so I kind of just assumed at that point I'd gotten lucky and dodged the bullet and did not somehow get the virus.
O que John não sabia era que ele já tinha se infectado e se curado.
It wasn't until later, in July, that I found out that not only had I contracted the virus in late March, but that I had the super antibodies in my blood that made me permanently immune.
Os superanticorpos de John só foram descobertos após ele mencionar o contato com a Covid ao médico Lance Liotta.
We collected his blood at different points in time, and now it's a gold mine to study different ways of attacking the virus. And the way those antibodies work, in the case of the COVID, is the COVID has these spikes on the surface, and those spikes are used to attach to the cell and then invade the cell. The patient's antibodies stick to those spike tips. And so when antibodies on it, it can't bind to the surface of the cell and infect it.
Mas o caso de John é diferente. Seus anticorpos atacam várias partes do vírus e o eliminam rapidamente.
Some of our patients had really high levels of antibodies against COVID. You could dilute their antibodies 1 to 10,000, 1 to 20,000. That's a big dilution, and it would still kill 90% of the virus.
E não é só isso, esses anticorpos são tão eficientes em neutralizar a Covid-19 que o tornam também imune às novas variantes. Cientistas esperam que esses superanticorpos os ajudem no desenvolvimento de vacinas ainda melhores e tratamentos contra a Covid.
No, I'm not the only person who's got antibodies like these. I'm just one of the few people who have been found.
Mas essa descoberta poderia não ter acontecido. Negros têm menos chances de participar de estudos clínicos quando comparados com brancos.
There's been a long history of, I would say, exploitation, I think is the sort of single best word, that has sown a lot of mistrust in the African American community, and I would say an understandable mistrust.
Talvez o exemplo mais emblemático de experimento médico envolvendo a comunidade negra seja o estudo da sífilis de Tuskegee. Por mais de 40 anos, cientistas financiados pelo governo dos Estados Unidos estudaram homens negros com sífilis no Alabama sem oferecer tratamento.
Most notably, over the course of the years that the study was undertaken, antibiotics were discovered and became widely available. So they were lied to in terms of their recruitment, they were lied to in terms of what was being done to them during the course of the study, and then they were denied care in the name of the research over as many years as the study continued. Out of the disclosure of the study at Tuskegee came the regulations and oversight that we now have for all of human subject research that have been in place since the 1970s and continue to this day.
Essa história pode ajudar a explicar por que grupos vulneráveis ao vírus às vezes relutam em participar de estudos clínicos ou se vacinarem.
We want to make sure that the communities that are hardest hit are at the table to receive the benefits of the things that are developed. And to do that means that those communities have to be part of the research population as well.
I just think we owe it to those people, those victims of the Tuskegee study and others, to honor them by being involved in the process, to make sure it doesn't happen again, and also to save lives, particularly among an African American community that's being most adversely affected by this virus. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the people we know and love to protect each other.